welcome to the next episode in this series. Like I said, we're gonna get very fucking deep in the weeds when it comes to discovery, okay? Because that is where the sale is made, and if you've already gone through the previous videos, then you have a very crystal clear structure at this stage, as well as the mentality and the different areas that we really need to start focusing on when it comes to a sales call. And here's where I'm going to start to really tie it together. So I'm going to take you through live examples on how we can identify the ultimate behaviors, identities, labels, these beliefs that they've been holding on to that are the exact reasons that they are in this position. And that is the number one mentality that I come into a sales call with. I've said this before. What am I looking for? I'm looking for, why doesn't this person already have this reality that they so-called desire, right? And then the other thing I'm looking for is the objections. Focus on those two things, and we're going to be able to make the sale if we overcome both of them. So we identify, okay, this is the exact reason that this person doesn't already have this. And these are the things that are going to stop them at the end of this call and allow them basically to continue running that cycle, okay? So we're going to dive in. I'm going to show you a bunch of ways that people describe themselves and a bunch of, I'm this type of person, or certain behaviors or language patterns that they're using that is the exact reasons that they're staying within this place. And those are the things that we're going to unpack and we're going to drill into and we're going to reframe, okay? So let's dive in. All right, so we are here with the first call, and obviously they are blurred out for privacy reasons. Now, I want to be very clear here, and I've said this before, the number one focus when it comes to sales calls should be, how can I transform this person's life? And that should be your ultimate goal. It shouldn't be, okay, how can I close them? It should be, how can I get clarity? How can I help them get clarity, and how can I get clarity? Because if someone genuinely isn't going to have success with what we sell, then we shouldn't sell them. So my whole point with this video here is not to grill this person that we were speaking to or grill the closer for not doing a good enough job. It's to show you how we can really hold someone accountable to the version of themselves that they could become. Okay, so this should be a learning lesson. This isn't an unethical way to start selling people. This is, hey, I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to tell you the things that need to be said because I care about you. I'm being the leader within your life that maybe you haven't had in the past, okay? So we're going to dive in. This is right from like basically the moment that she's finished setting frame.
Fit for the program. I'm just going to walk you through how we can work together. But if for whatever reason it didn't work out, I'll try to answer any questions you have. Sounds good?
Amazing.
Amazing. Perfect. So what brought you to this call? What made you book it?
Okay, I've already done a call review for this individual, but this is not, and we obviously have done a training around this, this is not the right way to open a call. And I don't want to go so deep on like a full call review. What I will actually do for that is I will do some kind of call to action in the description if you want to see a private, full, in-depth call review. The focus of this is, what can we latch onto? What is the biggest thing that we can focus on that is going to create this environment where they are going to make the decision, right? Because there's a million things we can go over, right? How to set a better frame, how to ask a better opening question, and all of these things. And that's the generalized focus of how to optimize where you're getting to. But in general, if you can really actually listen to a prospect, understand the things, this is what's been holding them back. They've been holding on to this belief or whatever it might be. And that's the thing that we focus on. That is really going to be one of the biggest things that will make the sale. And it's also one of the things that is typically missed because most people aren't even able to have a present conversation where they listen. So if we can actually listen and we start to understand that person, and then we start to have a conversation around how that reality that they've been living within is actually the exact thing that's holding them back, that's where we'll create a sale, okay? Now, obviously we've done trainings on this, but don't ever ask that, what was it about our ad that made you want to jump on this call? Or why did you book this call? Or, what were you hoping to get out from this call today? Because we have built no trust yet. So they're going to be reserved. They know you're only asking that question really in the prayer and the hopes that they say, oh, I just want to spend $5,000 right now on, on fixing XYZ. No one will ever say that, right? And like every now and then you'll get an answer which is quite pre-bought in, which is great. But 90% of the time you won't. They'll just be like, yeah, I just wanted to get help, right? Or I just saw your ad and it looked good. It's like nothing, right? Compared to, We go in, we focus on what their problem is, we have a problem-focused conversation. Later on, we can say, so what was it about our ad, given that you're struggling with this, and we have clarity on all those things. What was it about our ad that made you feel like we could potentially be the people that is going to resolve that? 1,000 times more powerful in terms of the question, but also the answer that you'll receive. It's no longer, well, I was just scrolling Instagram and I saw your guys' ad. It was, well, I saw your guys' ad and this part really resonated with me and I felt like that would be exactly what I need with the problems that I've had, because we've built trust. We've actually understood them. We've listened to them. We have a clear-cut diagnosis of the areas that they need help within, okay? So I'm not going to focus too much on a full call review. I want to show you call by call. We're going to do a few examples on this. This is going to be insanely value packed, okay? And I want to, not to suck my own dick again, but I want to be that guy just to say, like, this is all for free. Can you imagine the shit that I do when I take over a sales team, or the shit that I do when I'm coaching people, right? Like, this is just an entry into there, okay? And I've said this before, you should constantly be looking at how you can invest into yourself. I constantly invest into myself, right? Into mentors. Obviously, I've worked closely with Josh Lyons, and that shit was so transformative for me, and I'm still inside of there right now, right? And I'm constantly investing into better gear or into my health and all of these things where people are so scarcity-minded with money. And then you question, like, well, why am I getting these prospects that are so scarcity minded? It's because you don't know how to overcome that yourself. And you look at everything as like, oh, well, I can't spend this because I'm losing money. What if you spend that money and it has an exponential return? And people don't look at it in this way, okay? But let's go in, let's continue this call and we'll keep going.
So I had to drop my body fat.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, your audio is breaking out. I don't know what the issue is.
Is it?
Now it's good. Now it's good.
But if you do that again, just let me know. I'll change my earplugs.
Okay. Yeah, if you can actually just switch it to a normal audio, it's going to be better because it's coming and going. I cannot hear you well.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, this is much better.
Right.
Awesome.
So I was saying, number one goal is to.
And again, here, it's a little low energy. It's like he's pretty receptive. He's like, hey, if you need me to change it, then like I can, just let me know, I'll do it. And then we're just like, yeah, much better. I would just be like, perfect, thank you for sorting that, I appreciate it. And then go in. Like, I'm not saying you go crazy, like, oh, thank you so much. Like, there's none of that. Like, we're still grounded, we're a professional, but we raise the energy up just a notch because it's going to create more likability if we have a little bit of grounded plus charisma together. And it's a nice combination. Okay, let's keep going.
My body fat to 10 to 13%. That's what I want to do, and the reason for that is more longevity, energy, health, aesthetic, and yeah, that's what I want.
All right, so here we don't have much, and also we really don't have anything tangible as to why this person would need to buy something. So their number one goal is to drop their body fat to 10 to 13%. The reason to drop that amount of body fat is longevity, energy, health, aesthetics. So obviously we need anchor points towards what are all of those metrics looking like right now. What is your body fat percentage, right? How do you feel like you are in terms of the amount of energy that you have? Where is your health at currently? Do you have concerns on any of those things? I'm curious, like, why he feels like dropping to that amount of body fat will specifically correlate to those things. But in general, this is a good example of an answer that's pretty surface level and just kind of like, yeah, I want to have these things, but it's not the truth. And we'll see where that comes out, okay? And we have to dig deeper.
Got it. Yeah, I would like to know a little bit about your journey. So what has that been like for you, your health journey?
I'm a healthy guy. So in general, I'm healthy.
Okay, you see, and I do a lot of fitness call reviews. People really struggle with this sale because it's like, fuck, this person doesn't need anything. And we're going to do another fitness call as well, where the person's like, I know this, I know that, I've done this, I've done keto, I've done everything, I work out consistently, I'm hardcore, I'm blah, 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 and all of these things. And it's like, shit, but what do I even do? Like, this guy doesn't even need help. What do I focus on? So we've got to look deeper than that. We've got to figure out where is the thread, right? I always say that when I'm training a team, look for the thread that we can pull and unravel. okay? Because that is where we're going to make the sale. Someone will always tell you, yeah, you know, I'm a healthy guy. I train regularly, all of that stuff, right? We don't want to focus on that. We're not going to have a conversation. And a lot of people will praise it. Don't do that. Be like, oh, nice, cool. So yeah, congrats, man. It sounds like things are going good. You're super healthy. You're working out a lot. Like, I love that. Like, and then like, you know, like, how old are you? 45. Oh, that's great, man. Well done on being so consistent at 45. And it's like, we're just having a nice conversation. We're so buddy. And it's because it's a deep rooted need to be liked by them. Okay. But let me show you exactly where I would focus with this guy.
I do sports. I train regularly. I believe my biggest challenge, if that's probably what we need to address here, is probably my diet, which is, I think, is the main thing for pretty much everyone wanting to go I want. It's less on training, it's more on dieting. I think that has been my biggest struggle for many reasons. Number one, for emotional reasons, because we all attach food to certain emotions, mainly when we were a very young child and our parents, you know, the house and all that kind of stuff. And I believe that is the main reason why I've been up and down. So, and I've done a few different things. I can't say I've tried everything, as many people say. I don't even know what everything is, but I've done a few things, and I could see some improvements. So, for example, one of the things I did a few years ago was a detox. I did a 21 days fasting, water fasting. But the reason wasn't to lose weight and everything. That was just a consequence of it, of me doing 21 days of water fasting. So yeah, did that. I do try to change my diet a few times, and I end up always going back to the standard and normal stuff.
Boom. Now, funnily enough, look at what he said at the beginning of that sentence. He said, I train regularly, but I believe my biggest challenge. So he's already aware that we're not having a conversation around the problem, which is why you should be fucking starting with that. Okay, what do you think is your biggest challenge with your health and fitness right now? Right? What's the areas that you specifically need help with? Right? And he's doing that for you. And that really loses respect on our side, because he's kind of thinking, well, why are we not having a conversation about this? I guess I'll just talk to them about it. And it's weird and it's disjointed. So right away, because he's now telling us about his biggest challenge, which is again what we should focus on, we are now finding out the exact reason that he is not where he wants to be. It is a deep-rooted belief that he struggles with his diet because of emotional reasons, where he attaches food to certain emotions, and this has been happening since he was a very young child, and because of his parents, and it's blaming my genetics, my parents, this, my environment when I grew up, since I was a child, etc., right? And most prospects, they will blame external circumstances as to the reasons why they don't have what they are having. Now, we have to, through questions, help them realize that results are still possible, and they are not doing the necessary steps to facilitate that. Okay, so that is exactly where I'm going to start to now take this conversation. Okay, so what we're going to do, I just paused and then I was going to start going through, but I actually want to take this a little bit deeper first for us to have a good amount of clarity. Okay.
I do try to change my diet a few times, and I end up always going back to the standard and normal stuff.
And why do you think that happens?
I don't know why, if I'm honest. I think it's, like I said, I genuinely believe that's to do with emotional stuff. It can't be anything else, because rationally, when you think rationally, it doesn't make sense. But then, hence why people do certain things, even though rationally they know that's it's not correct or it's not what they should do, but I believe it's attached to some kind of emotions. Right?
Got it. You mentioned emotional stuff a few times. So if you don't mind, I would like you to expand a little bit on that for me. So do you get stressed and go eat a lot or binge eat? So what does that look like for you when you say that?
Yeah, I do that as well sometimes. Because I do.
So right there, this is a very common thing. We give them potential answers and then look at his response. Yeah, I mean, I do that as well. That's not the root of the problem. So we could have just asked this exact question, but without the assumptions of what is happening. So it's like, so you mentioned emotional stuff quite a number of times, and I just want to get a bit more clarity on that. What specifically does that look like for you? Right? I'm not saying that's the perfect question, but I'm saying that's the way that we ask it, as more of an open-ended question. You mentioned this a normal amount of times. What specifically does that look like for you when you're talking about emotional stuff having an impact on your eating, right? Because
So-
otherwise we get this, well, yeah, I do that as well. That's not the root of the answer.
I do that as well sometimes because I do get stressed, for my work and that kind of stuff. And whenever that happens, actually, yes, that's one of the things I do. Which is the refuge. So it's food. And yeah.
So this is more high level. Notice that we gave him the answer. He agreed with it, and he's literally smiling and happy about it, which is a very, very strong way for us to know it's not the truth. Now, there might be an element of truth within it, but it's not the problem. It's not the thing that's keeping him up at night. Okay, like that's not the root of the issues. Okay, and as a result, we've given him this way out, and he's going to latch onto it because it's easier to do. Like, okay, well, she gave me an answer, and it seems it's easier for me just to agree with that than it is for me to really have this deep, admitting conversation. Compared to if we had asked it as a more of an open-ended question, like what I said, and then he has to come up with the answers himself, right? And there are words that I live by to this day from Paul Daly, who was like one of the first ever kind of mentors that I had when I joined Iman's team, which is, if it comes from your mouth, it's shit. If it comes from their mouth, it's gold. So never, ever just say, okay, is it this? Is it this? You don't want to do that. Now, if you have already tried like 7 times, maybe not that many times, if you already tried 2-3 times on like, well, what do you think is really causing this? I don't know. Well, if you had to try and put your finger on it, like what typically is coming up for you? Honestly, I really just don't know. Then you can suggest things. Well, based on my experience from doing these calls a lot, sometimes it can be stress and you end up binge eating. It could be this, it could be that. Like, do any of those resonate for you, or do you feel it's something different for you? Right? Like, because you don't want to just have them in this limbo of thinking like, well, I don't fucking know. And then we're just like back and forth like, well, what is it? I don't know. Well, what is it? I don't know. Right? And it's just frustration and it's just stupid. That's illogical. And it's not really like attuned to having a conversation. But you never want to just go straight in with that, okay?
And have you tried to, let's say, it looks like your sleep has been an issue. Have you tried to fix that, to kind of do something about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And has it helped?
Yeah, it's helped. Yeah, a lot. So I've been sleeping much better lately.
Boom, game over. You see the problem right here? We latch onto the wrong thing. Okay, so with the sleep, you've been focusing on that? Yes, I have. He's happy. Has it helped? Oh, yeah, it's helped loads. Well, you wouldn't be on the call if it had helped that much. Okay, so let me take you through specifically what we need to latch onto. And I think maybe like on a call review dynamic, it might be a little bit easier or a little bit more obvious. When you're live on a call, it's not quite as obvious. And this is where you got to start to build that kind of, I guess, muscle in your brain to like identify like, okay, I'm thinking, what specifically are the main things that's holding him back? He talked about emotional reasons a lot, which actually we addressed. We called that out. We said, hey, I noticed that you mentioned this thing a lot. What do you mean by that? But then we moved on. It's like, well, he mentioned it a lot. People don't mention things in general unless it's important. They definitely don't repeatedly mention things unless it's important. So I would literally just say, so you've mentioned this kind of cycle of making progress and then just slipping back into old habits. Can you walk me through what is typically triggering that shift for you? Okay, open up that can of worms. Again, obviously, when we ask any of these questions, the conversation can start to veer off in different ways. But then, of course, we want to call out the emotional side. So it sounds like you feel the emotional tie that you have to food is one of the main things that's holding you back. Yes, that's correct. And always give room to breathe on statements. He might just start giving you more information about the emotional tie, right? And then I would say like, so you have the awareness. Has that awareness alone ever been enough to kind of break this cycle? Yes, no, I don't know what he says, right? Because if it's like, yes, it has, it's like, okay, how consistent is that? What do you feel like is leading you back into, being back in that cycle? Okay. Right. So then it's kind of like, well, you seem like someone, because he said all these things, you seem like someone that is training hard, and you want this ultimately. Where do you feel like the disconnect is? Like, why do you feel you haven't been able to break through despite that? And then one of the biggest things here, because he's held on to this rooted belief, is like, well, I guess I'm curious, this emotional tie to food that you're feeling like is, one of the main catalysts for not getting the results you want. do you believe that it is still possible for you to achieve the results that you're looking for, the 10% body fat, the longevity, even with these deep-rooted patterns? Right? So then, because like it's like calling it out. It's the reality. Like, is it possible? Right? So then you can just be like, so given that you do feel it's possible, what do you think actually needs to change? Put the ownership back onto them. Get them to hold accountable. Like, that's definitely one of the biggest keys. Okay, so we want to focus on all those things, like the emotional reasons as to why he hasn't been able to do this, because that's really where the sale's made. What specifically do you mean by these emotional reasons? How long have you had those for? You mentioned since a child. Have you always been aware of that being the deep-rooted thing that's stopping and slowing down and hindering your fitness progress? Okay, so for the last 10 years, you've had awareness that your deep-rooted emotional ties towards food has been holding you back. What have you done to try and address those emotional ties? Not what have you done to try and sleep better. What have you tried to address those? Because that's, in his eyes, the key. So we've got to ask him around the key. What do you think is missing? Do you feel like results are still possible despite this thing? So why haven't you been able to achieve that? And then I would ask him in general as well, when we kind of have established this a bit, but it's like, so without those emotional ties, do you feel like that would be basically be the key towards you getting the results that you're looking for? Because if we get commitment to that, it's basically kind of like we can present that as the thing. So it's like, so if we can work one-on-one with you to remove the emotional ties towards the food, you would be able to achieve the results that you're looking for, right? So like, we got to focus on the things that they're telling us because it's very important. We listen to them, and then that is where we go deep, 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 right? Just all of this, what is that? What are the emotional ties? And ask it and pull it across real-time data. So it's like, okay, so these emotional ties, last week, how many times did your emotions take over your diet? Take over the control that you had on your diet? Oh, well, on Wednesday, I had like this big binging session and all of those kind of things. It's like, okay, is that pretty standard on an average week? Yeah. So for the last 10 years, once a week, your emotional ties are causing you to go out and overeat and da 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 and all of those kind of things. If we can take that, and we also obviously also haven't understood like what is your actual body fat right now compared to what body fat you want to get to, we're starting to create this crystal clear picture that like this is the one key that is needed, and it's also the behavior. So I can ask that question. Do you feel like this belief that you have around not being able to get the results due to these emotional ties is one of the main reasons that you're even within this cycle in the first place? Do you think there are other people that also have awareness to these emotional ties, but they've chosen to ignore them or been able to work through them? So why do you feel like you haven't been able to? What do you think is ultimately missing? Oh, I just need more accountability, or I need fucking this or whatever, right? Like, it's like we open the door towards solution. We're going to have a conversation around the solution, okay? So this is what I would say for this one call. Okay, let's keep going with some additional calls. Okay, on to the next call right here. And with this one, it is another person. So this is another fitness offer where they're in a good situation. They're healthy, they've tried a bunch of stuff, etc. And I'm going to show you specifically how we can create a problem. And I'm not saying that there wasn't a problem in the first place, but what I'm saying is that they're the kind of person that they're on a sales call because they have a problem. That is night and day. That's always the situation. If someone was already hitting the goals and all of the goals that they wanted, they just wouldn't be on a call. But a lot of people prefer, because it's more comfortable, to say, hey, I'm doing this, this is going great, I've tried this, I'm committed here, I'm super hardcore here, blah, blah. It's just easier, it's nicer. People don't like to talk about their flaws. That's just human nature. So I'm going to show you here how we can pull apart the things that this person's saying to actually uncover the reality, okay?
I'm going to speak a little bit more about that. But I want to diagnose your health and fitness. I want to know what you've tried in the past, sort of go through that, sort of speak a little bit about that. Obviously, want to know where you are right now, what your struggles are. And then it goes without saying, we're going to chat about what your goals are. Like, what do you want to achieve working with us? Like, what is the ultimate North Star for you? If at the end of this call, we both feel like we're a good fit for each other, then we can move forward at the end of this call. If not, for whatever reason, I still want to provide you with as much value as possible on this call. Give you some information, send you in the right direction, and just help as much as possible. Sound good?
Sounds perfect. And I will start off by saying that I consider myself a novice expert in nutrition and fitness, only because since I've been young, I've struggled with my weight. I've been an athlete. I've always had to work out and eat properly. I've never been a fad diet guy. I've always been a hardcore nutrition person, or at least understanding. And then it was a question of discipline, distractions, whatever, that took me off course. And then also predisposition to being overweight. It's just in my family. So genetics. I have good genetics and bad genetics. I mean, I've got, considering my age and everything else, my lean muscle mass is.
Okay, right here. Now again, this is not of a judgmental vibe. This is actually like, hey, I want the best for this individual. I want him to step into the ultimate version of himself. I want him to become the highest version of himself. But everything past this point is just him saying how great he is, right? My lean muscle mass is higher than average, much higher than average. You saw my legs, right? You saw my legs and my upper body. I've always gotten compliments, right? I've studied, not formally, but I've studied on my own nutrition. I've experienced it. I've been to different places, spas, etc., 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 right? All of this stuff. I think this is all great, okay? Now, what do we actually want to focus on, okay? Oh, I've done a mini triathlon, right? I've been able to get down to 12% body fat. All of this stuff is like, hey, my life is fantastic, okay? So we need to ultimately address this. We need to change this. So the first area right here, straight away, we set the frame and he's kind of coming into this frame of like, well, hey, I already know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not a beginner. Like, I don't want to, have some basic shit. However, look at how people describe themselves. I will start by saying I consider myself, not I've been told or I've got a degree in this or anything. I consider myself a novice expert. Okay? Now, those are a contradiction. Novice means I'm just starting out. I don't really know much. Expert is like, hey, I've mastered this. Which one is it? Now, that's not how we would do it. We would say, okay, so you mentioned that you feel you're a novice expert in nutrition. What specifically are the areas where you feel like you're more of a novice? And what are the areas where you feel like you're an expert? We don't take the things that they're telling us at a surface level. We dive deeper into them, okay? And we understand basically the parts that are good and the parts that are bad, the leaks that they have as an individual. So we would go deep on that. Now, that conversation could open up a big can of worms in the sense of like, well, I've always been good at this and I've always been consistent with this, but in this certain area, I suck. And we're going to have a conversation about the areas where you suck, okay? But right here, again, I've always been a hardcore nutrition guy, or I've always been a hardcore nutrition person, or at least understanding, is what he said. Unfortunately, that isn't a good enough answer. Okay? And what I mean with that, and I've just realized that you can't actually fully see the transcript, so I'm going to move that over. But what we would say here is, okay, so you mentioned that you've always been a hardcore nutrition person, at least in the understanding. How about implementation? Like, you've got to take what they say, you've got to use the exact terminology, language, the patterns, the things they're telling themselves, the rationalizations, and pose it back as a question. Okay, so you've always been a hardcore nutrition person, at least in the understanding. How about in the implementation? What does your nutrition look like right now? Right? Last week, what was your nutrition like? Okay, how many calories did you consume? What was your goal? Right? What was your target calories? What was the reality? How many calories did you actually consume? Oh, I don't know that number. Okay. What was the goal that you had? Oh, I wanted to lose fucking 10 pounds. I'm curious, how do you feel you're going to be able to lose that 10 pounds without knowing the calorie consumption that you're currently doing? It's like we've got to call them out in a nice way, right? And it's not like, hey, I'm just calling you out for the fucking fun of it. But this whole guy gives us a big spiel on this thing's great. I've done triathlons. I've done this. I've done that. I've done this. No, I'm focusing on the problems of the conversation. Novice expert. there's a problem within there. There's something in some areas that he feels like is not as good as it could be. Nutrition, I'm a hardcore nutrition person, right? That's like the good part, at least in understanding. It's that little like, hey, I'm just going to slightly throw in the truth, the reality part. Well, at least in understanding. But anyway, yeah, like I've also been fucking, you know, crushing it and doing this. No, what do you mean at least understanding? Is there any reason that you know the nutrition, you have a good understanding on the nutrition, but you are choosing not to follow that knowledge? Why do you feel like, despite having the knowledge, you're not actually consistent with your nutrition? These are the kind of questions where they're like, fuck, you caught me. Because I let a little thing slip. And I said this before, sometimes you get someone, I'm not saying this guy's rambling, he's not, but sometimes you'll get people and they'll give you like this speech of, you know, and almost at face value, you're like, I don't know what to focus on. Things seem pretty good. No, it's these little things. People, if they give you a 1-minute speech, there's little keywords and phrases within there that are the problems, the focus points, the things we need to latch onto to actually be like, oh, this person's going to be like, oh, fuck, Scott is very sharp. How did he even notice that? And they're going to have such a real, raw, authentic conversation about the reality. Because again, they wouldn't be on a call like this if they had everything that they needed. So we're not going to focus on the triathlon and then this and then that. We're going to focus on like what is actually the problem. Okay. And here, a predisposition to being overweight. Right? So again, I'm going to focus on that. And that's going to be similar to the last one. So I'm like, okay, so you mentioned you have a predisposition to being overweight. When did you become aware of that? Okay. Do you feel like there are people that have this similar predisposition, but are ultimately still able to achieve their goals? So what do you feel like are the biggest struggles that you personally have that are making this journey not possible for you right now? Right? It's like regardless of whether it's true or not, he is still able to get the results that he's looking to get, but he's not doing the necessary steps in order to get that. And that's where we have to hold the accountability. Okay? So we are just going to focus on that. You see, like, it's like all this stuff. I don't eat excess sugar. I don't drink. I don't do this. I don't do that. It's like, well, I need to know. And then Max here, and he's progressed so much. This was a call in February, but it's like, hey, I love the energy. I can see this as something a priority, and we're praising. No. Right? I love and respect that this guy is whatever age, I think 60 something, and crushing it, but he's not crushing it to the level that he knows he could be. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on this call. He knows there's more to give. There's more potential inside of him. He's not tapping into it. Okay, so this is call number 2. We're going to go into 3, maybe even 4. We will see in regards to timing. Okay, we're going into call number 3. I'm going to have the transcript a little larger for this one. There are numerous layers for this one, okay? So 5 minutes in, let's look at how they describe themselves. Right? So the question that we asked is, for the past 1.5 years since you've been trading, what has that process looked like in terms of learning, researching, and working with people? Okay? Now, just to give some clarity on this call, 1.5 years, no profit. They're in the red, right? They're negative. Okay? So let's have a look at their answer.
I've joined a few trading groups to learn, like from some mentors, and just to learn strategies. And how they trade if it fits with my style. And I think that's the bulk of.
So we've got to constantly be listening out with my style. I'm testing to see if it's with my style. I would ask that. Now, we're going to see how this conversation goes. That probably isn't the most powerful next question that I would ask, but it's an option. And you always want to have options. So it's like, you said that you're looking to learn strategies from mentors and seeing if they trade with your style. What is your style? And how is your style working for you so far? Like, you got to ask a couple of these questions because it's a total rationalization. Oh, I want to make sure they're trading with my style. You've made no money. You've only lost money. So to coin something as your style is kind of ignorant and dangerous. Okay, but we're going to keep going because it gets much deeper.
Trading groups have you worked with already so far?
3. I think that's the bulk of my time. It's like going through all the strategies, see what works for me, what doesn't work, what I don't like. And I just wanted to see basically everything. I think that's how my mind works. I have to look at everything, know everything, and then decide what's best for me. And so that.
Okay, boom. We get the lens of what this person is going to say to us. Realistically, okay? It's like, I just wanted to see basically everything. I think that's how my mind works. I have to look at everything, know everything, and then decide what's best for me. I wonder what will happen at the end of this call. Given it's been a year and a half of doing trading and not getting results with it because you're the kind of person that likes to look at everything, know everything, then make a decision, I wonder what will happen when we ask for 5K at the end of this call. She's going to look at it, think about it, know about it, learn and do our research, all of this shit, blah, 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 blah. So it's the willingness that it's that exact behavior that's kept her where she is in the sense of her trading right now, right? She has this belief and this identity that if I continue to just gather all the information, all the data, that's like a fundamental, that's like a prerequisite in order for me to go and take action, right? It's like, oh, well, if I understand everything, then I can just act without risk. But there is no fucking acting without risk. There's always risk. Okay, but it's about calculated risk. It's about what is it cost, right? If I continue doing the style that I'm doing right now, am I going to likely do another year and a half of losing money in trading? The answer is fucking yes. Okay, so she's got this behavior that she feels like it's intelligence, like, oh, I'm just that type of person. That's how my brain works. But it's self-protection. Right? It's like this, oh, you know, I just don't like being at risk. I don't like being uncomfortable, right? It's this emotional safety of needing to have control, but it's a complete trap, right? Because something like trading, and I would ask her this, do you feel like a vehicle like trading, or really any growth vehicle in a way of making money, do you feel like it's ever really fully knowable in advance? Right? So we're going to ask that. But this is one layer. We're going to keep going because it gets deeper and deeper. But I hope that you can begin to see, okay, they're going to say this to me at the end of the call. And I remember, obviously I've run a lot of teams. I always give this advice. And I wouldn't do it right here in this moment. I would do it later on because it's still quite early into this call. It's like 5 minutes in. And this person gives us more juicy information. But when they tell you this type of thing, which is a way that they behave, I just like to look at everything, know everything, but see everything. Obviously, start asking all the questions like I was saying. But at a certain point, one of the most powerful things that you can do is kind of break the fourth wall and just say like, so given you're currently in a position where your style of trading isn't generating you profit, and you feel like you're the type of person that needs to look at everything and know everything and then decide what's best for you, are you going to do the same to me at the end of this call? And just have the conversation around that, because it's like almost there's like a good energy under it. It's like a little bit of like a lighthearted stab. Like we're kind of joking a bit, but if we can get and have a conversation around that and overcome it and reframe it, they then can't say that at the end of the call. So when they say like, oh, I don't know, maybe it depends on what you guys do. How many times have you done that before? Been on a call, told the person you're going to look around, need to know everything, see everything, and then never really spoken to them again, right? What do you think you would actually need to see? Like, what are the key metrics that you need to see in order to be able to make a decision to know that something's going to be a good decision to escalate your trading portfolio, right? And just start to push into it. Right? It's like, and just ask that question. Do you think this identity label you've put on yourself around needing to see everything, know everything before making any decision, do you think that's part of the reason that you don't have a profitable trading career and you're kind of working in the slow lane, whilst others within a year and a half have basically achieved their goals and they're living a significantly better life than you? You just start to focus on it. Right? But like I said, I wouldn't do that right here. I'm going to show you specifically where there is a very, very juicy moment for us to really create this sale. Okay, so right here. Curious to know, have you ever reached out to get help from a mentor in the past? Let's dive into this.
I'm curious to know, have you ever reached out to get help from a mentor in the past? Or you gotten any calls like this?
Once.
Once, okay. How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, it was like in the beginning.
So about a year and a half, a year ago.
Yeah. I didn't go with that person.
Okay, so I mean, what stopped you from moving forward with them?
I don't know. It just didn't click with me at the time. I just didn't like it. It was a gut feel thing, I guess.
So how much of a red flag is this for us to be able to be like, I wonder if they'll close? A year and a half ago, right when she started, she had one call. No other calls since that. She had a gut feeling, didn't move forward with him, and never tried anything else like this since. We've got to spend a lot of time on this section because it's actually the exact reason that her trading isn't going well. The unwillingness to invest into knowledge and mentorship. So then she is basically shooting and aiming blind, hoping and praying that her style will eventually click. You got to bring awareness to that. And I'm going to show you, but we're going to keep going deeper because it gets even deeper, right? Because we start to ask some good questions to try and get an understanding of like gut feel thing. What does that even mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, what exactly did you feel? Do you think
Like
it was
it
fear?
wasn't the right fit. Yeah, fear, and it wasn't the right fit. Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean exactly by right fit? What do you feel like would make the right fit for you?
I guess success rate with prior students, how many students, stuff like that.
So right here, the closer starts to get a little lost, and you can feel that. He's like, I don't know what to ask. But this is a rationalization. I would just ask that. So if you had seen success rate with prior students and how many students they'd served, would you have moved forward with them a year and a half ago? Well, I don't know. Did they not show you those things? Well, they gave me some. So why didn't you move forward with them? What was really stopping you from moving forward with them? Right? Rationalization. Don't take this at a surface level. What do you feel like you needed to see? I guess success rate and stuff. Like, I don't know. That's not true. They definitely had that.
Success rates in what way? I mean, what did you see exactly that wasn't right for you?
Oh, in that specific time. The other thing was the sales was really pushy. I didn't like that. Say that at the time.
Boom. Right there. That's the real reason. Oh, the other thing was the sales was really pushy. And then right in this exact fucking moment is when every sales rep starts to shit their pants. Oh my god, this person didn't move forward because the sales was really pushy. Now I can't be pushy, and what am I going to do? I'm going to have to be so nice, and okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, I would never be pushy. No. You got to do the exact fucking opposite, and I'm going to show you exactly how.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So with sales, you didn't see too many results, not have full clarity
Yeah,
on that.
I mean, they've I remember them showing a few, but I guess it wasn't enough. Maybe I don't remember. It's in a year and a half ago. But I do what I do remember is sales being very pushy.
Okay, that was the main takeaway that you remember.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
that was my gut feel. Like, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to stop here, right? The next question is just, you mentioned you were fearful of jumping in. Well, to jump in, because I think the trigger was I was fearful because the salesperson went to push. So it's like, what are they trying to sell me? It's like when you go to a car and the person is really pushy, okay? So you got to open that can of worms because that's the exact thing that stopped her from moving forward. But again, what if she had actually fucking invested in herself a year and a half ago? Maybe she wouldn't be in this position where she's eating off her savings and she's done this for a year and a half without making any money. Right? And now starting to get into a position where if this doesn't start to work out, I'm going to have to find a job again and I'm going to have to get back into corporate and all of these things. So, because right here, I would have personally called her out. Okay, so I know it's been a year and a half, but I'm really just trying to get a good understanding of this. You mentioned that you do remember them showing you student results. Yes, but it wasn't enough? No, yeah, maybe. I mean, it was so long ago, I don't really remember. It sounds to me like the real issue as to why you didn't move forward with them was because they were pushy. That's correct. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. I'm curious, do you feel like there's any possibility that sales rep was pushy because he actually had conviction and belief that your trading career portfolio would be better because of working with them? I don't know. I mean, maybe. Well, let me ask you a question. Putting the pushy nature of the sales aside, working with them, going through their mentorship, do you think you'd be in a better position with your trading or a worse position? Well, maybe better, right? So let me ask you, what do you think would have happened if you had leaned into that discomfort instead of backing away from it? And I guess I want to hear your perspective here. If someone is pushing you because they actually believe in what you can become, and not just because they want something from you, do you feel like that's still a bad thing? Well, no, that wouldn't be a bad thing. So to be upfront with you, if we get to the end of this call and I genuinely believe that this is exactly what you need to move forward, and then you feel the same way too, are you going to be okay with me pushing you knowing it's for your greater good? Because I'm not here to push anyone into something that they don't want or isn't going to better them, but I will push someone when I see that they're ready and they just need to get out of their own way. And if they don't, they're going to continue another 1.5 year cycle of losing money. Because if I don't push you and you walk away again, we both know what's going to happen. You're going to keep going on these kind of calls, collecting strategies, looking at everything, needing to know everything, second guessing yourself. And another 1.5 years is going to pass and you're going to be in the same spot, still trying to feel ready. So are you okay with me, if there's alignment, to push you? Have that conversation. That was what this person needed. That person needed legitimate fucking accountability, leadership, and a bit of a reality talk. Like, honestly, you've allowed your fear in that moment to stop you from being successful. Do you think it's normal that in that moment, when a little bit of pressure is applied, to feel uncomfortable? Have you heard the saying, pressure makes diamonds? Like, in that time period, have you ever looked back at that mentorship and seen the results that some of their students have got within the last 1.5 years? So is it fair to say that that could have been you? Those results, those testimonials, that could have been you. Right? And I'm just going to fucking hit him. Right? So it's like, at the end of the day, I'm actually sorry that you took a call with a person who was maybe a little pushy, but they didn't push you enough to actually change where you're at. Because now 1.5 years has passed and you are hemorrhaging money and you're living off of your savings. So let me ask you, how much longer are you going to allow your own fear to become the biggest obstacle for you actually making a change and getting the results that you want in your life? Right? You see, but like, and again, like I said at the beginning of this is all about ethical selling. Like, I'm doing this because this person's in a bad situation, but they're in a bad situation through their own actions, through their own mentality towards shit like this. And that's fucking dangerous. Okay? So hopefully this was beneficial, right? We went deep on 3 individual calls. I don't know how long this video is going to be after editing, but I'm pretty sure this is more value than most people ever put online for free. If this is valuable and you're new and you've never seen my channel before, feel free to just subscribe. I also don't actually care if you don't. I'll be transparent. Like, you know, if you're like, hey, I'm getting loads of value from this guy and you want to see more, please do so. I would love that. And I really appreciate everyone that leaves the nice comments and the support. If you're like, yeah, it's whatever, then all good. But in general, I appreciate everyone. If this was beneficial, feel free to let me know. And I will see you all on the next episode of this training series. Goodbye.